Is it?
There we go.
All right, we're live on my end. So, greetings, readers and travelers, and welcome to another episode of Stats on Stats. My name is Richie Stevens, and today we are doing a live special episode because it's one of our Bard Tales episode. We haven't done one of these in a while. It's where we sit down with the narrator, and of course, is our returning guest. He's one of our favorites here on the show, Mr. Zachary Johnson. Zach,
Hello.
how are we doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. I have some exciting projects lined up. I'm looking forward to working this evening, actually. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I can't wait to hear about these projects because I love hearing about your work. You do a lot of good stuff, and
Thank you.
we love having you on the show and everything. So, good God, my phone is being stupid already. And joining me as always, well, not always because he wasn't on last night's episode, Mr. Joel Harvey.
You
Joel,
didn't even tell me about it until like last minute. Um, I'm here. I'm burning the midnight oil and getting ready for work here in a bit. But other than that, we're here to talk about some amazing books, and I'm here for it.
Excellent.
well,
Sounds fun.
specifically one amazing book for tonight's episode because Zach actually was like, "Hey, whenever you want to talk about this, let me know." I was like, "Dude, how about this week?" Okay, that works.
Excellent. Yes.
So we kind of expedited this episode, and that's why it's a little bit more of a last-minute surprise episode that's not on our schedule. But we're talking Shadow Agency
We are.
by M.A. Carlson. Now, Zach,
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about your journey when working on the narration for this book. Or why don't, for people who don't know who you are, introduce yourself. Tell us
Oh,
who's
well.
Zachary Johnson.
My name is Zachary Johnson. I've been a narrator for 4 or 5 years now, something like that. I work with Sound Booth Theater quite a lot. If you've ever seen Jeff Hayes on, that's his company. I generally speaking, I'm just kind of a nerd obsessed currently with Oxygen Not Included is my game of choice right now,
Good
and
game.
that's excellent. And other than that, yeah, just mostly plugging away on Sound Booth Theater content. Got a couple exciting side indie projects coming up, and beyond that, just good friend of Richie and Joel. Happy to be here.
And not only
Glad
that,
to
but
have
my
you.
mentor as
Well,
well.
thank you.
Because
He's just my
without
friend.
because Joel.
unless you were to get into narration, then we could talk mentorship.
So, Zach, why don't you tell us how did the project of Shadow Agency come to your like corner of Sound Booth Theater?
It kind of just fell into my lap. It was one of those, I was filling in the higher ups at Sound Booth Theater on progress regarding current projects I had with them at the time, and as it happened, they had that coming in, and I had an opening, and I found out, a bit about what the book was, and the title alone was enough to intrigue me. And so I immediately said yes, and I was immediately pleased with that decision when I started reading. It was really good. If I remember correctly, I think they did have me audition for it, but I don't remember if they called me out specifically as the person they wanted, but I got lucky enough to end up with it, so I'm very happy.
Well, I know Joel and I found out about this book when we were doing our episode with Charles Dean,
Oh yeah.
and he was like, "Yeah, so there's this book that's coming out. I think Soundboot's doing it." And Jeff was in the comments. He goes, "Oh yeah, Zach's narrating it." And I was like, "Hold up, I have to send an angry text message really quickly because
I remember that text message. It's like, when
Yes.
were you going to tell me?
now."
Yeah, they did it for me. That's fine.
So yeah, I was a little upset because I normally know about Zach's like stuff he's allowed to talk about
Yes,
when he's allowed to talk about it.
which is it's most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm not a super secret NDA bound commodity.
He's just
Yes.
like, "Hey, this book's coming out. I think you're gonna enjoy it." All right, let's break the wallet.
Indeed.
So,
I hope it was worth it.
oh, it was definitely
Excellent.
worth it because Joel and we got
I
it
enjoyed
on
it.
release date.
Good.
And Joel,
I'm
why
glad.
don't you share your thoughts?
um.
Jeff Hayes is in the comments.
Well,
Oh,
So
for
join us,
one,
needs to starve some food.
Nice. For one, I this book came to me right when I needed it. I was powering through like a bunch of like 10 plus book series back to back to back, and I would really just needed like a quick like one off story, or like one off for now story. And yeah, it was a really good adventure. And yeah.
No, it functions well. It functions well as a standalone, even because like the way that it ends, it's like okay, yeah, I could see that being like an exciting conclusion, but it definitely does leave space open for more stuff to happen. So
And
it works
I'm
either way.
really curious to see how book two is gonna go
Yes, me
because
too.
Yeah.
I loved book one. It's way too good. And I sent you a screenshot. I was listening to it today before. Like
Yes,
I was having a date day with my girlfriend. She's actually in the other room right now, working
nice.
on some drawing and stuff. And I was like, hey, I have to do a podcast tonight. She goes, oh, you're good. I got stuff. So I was like, all right, cool. So I was listening to it today as we were doing like our little date day out adventure stuff. And we got in the car and it turned on and she goes, wow, this is really good. And the store we go to, it's like a little like collectible toy store, vintage stuff. I took some old books up there for him and everything. And
Yeah.
I got a really cool thing. I got this Anaris pop figure. I love it. Diablo 4,
Ooh.
not a great game. This pop figure, I don't care. It's beautiful.
Yeah, sometimes the designs alone, it's like,
Yes.
yeah, I didn't like the game, but the character's cool. I want them.
No, it's the game's not bad. It's just, yeah.
It's disappointing. I feel
Oh,
like
that's
listening to Lit RPG has ruined gaming for me.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, now all he plays is Apex anymore, which I used to have to fight with him to get him on Apex.
Well, like, I don't know. It's just like the adventure story games, they all have that, like, they're all trying to be each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know. With Lit RPG, everything's just so unique, and it's like fully developed worlds, and it's super immersive, and you can't really get that anymore
Well,
from video
it's
games.
especially with books, just when you're using printed word, you have so much more freedom to do weird stuff that would be really hard to program. There's like
Yeah.
you're not as constrained.
Yeah.
It's
No.
the limit is whatever the author can do, whereas with games, it's like the limit is what the computer will allow you to do.
Well, and not only that, like even in like the lit RPGs, like because you've read a lot of ones that are either have the native world
Yes.
with a system, or they're doing the gaming route,
Yes.
and it's always with the gaming route. It's always somewhere in the near future, like either it's 100 years or like 50 years or whatever.
Yeah,
But
or it's like
technology
some
is
super secret project in present day.
right, and
Yeah.
technology is so much more advanced and everything. Like, yeah, I want to play VR games and everything, and I'm waiting for the full immersion stuff so we can live out these lit RPG dreams
Yeah.
because we're gonna have a blast with them. I know Joel and I,
Obviously.
like, if they did like a VR or like a full immersion type thing for like ESO or something,
Yeah.
Joel and I would be in the PvP battlegrounds in a heartbeat, ready.
Of
Because when
course.
that game first came out, we were having a blast, and we spent what 4 or 5 hours one day just in the battlegrounds.
Yeah, probably more than that.
And I was running DPS tank, and he was running DPS healer, so we were just rocking through it. But the main character in Shadow Agency, what were your like initial thoughts on him?
My initial thoughts on him. Um so I I find it a fascinating challenge sometimes to play younger characters just because I have to talk in a slightly higher register than I'm used to. So when I saw that he was as young as he was, I was initially like, my first thought is, am I gonna hurt my voice voicing this guy? Because I had to go at least a little bit higher because I don't want him to sound like a 32-year-old man. I don't want to have the problem that a lot of old high school comedies make, where all of the teenagers look like they're in their mid 20s. But
Oh, you mean
um,
Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, the very
exactly,
first one? They're all in their 30s
exactly.
during that scene.
Yeah, it's like, how many years did you get held back, James Franco? Um, but no, it was I I really liked that they went the orphan pickpocket angle with him because a lot of times with younger characters, the trouble one can run into is they're weirdly mature for their age.
Hmm.
Like, and there's no explanation for like why this is basically an adult in a kid's body, but in his case, just because of the way he had to grow up, it made a lot more sense why he'd be as jaded as he was.
Right.
But it was interesting that he kept little bits of the little kid optimism in there as well that I quite liked.
He's what,
Yeah,
14, 15?
I don't even know if he's that old. I think he might even just be like 12 or 13. He's very very young.
Yeah, it
Um,
picks up like probably a month before they do the whole like profession.
yeah,
Well, how long is he on the ship for? Because I mean, once he gets the like
it's a few
the
months. I'd say
mission.
the journey takes place over the span of a few months. I don't think it's quite a whole year, but he's definitely on ship voyages for like long enough to develop skill sets and things
Yeah,
like that. For example, like the chef
which
thing.
that's one thing we definitely need to talk about is the mechanics aspect of it. Just because how long he actually has to go through like the training and honing his
Yes.
senses for the shadows, it's so long, but it's like
Yeah.
wow, this the payoff's going to be great, especially when you get to um I think it's the chapter right before the interlude when he gets to the city. Oh, what's the city? Pasanto or
Oh, there was Puerto Manada is where he left. I think it was Puerto Sanchez.
Porto Sanchez, yes.
Yeah, Puerto
Um
Sanchez.
and he's dealing with the rabbit girl. Like
Yeah.
that whole interaction, I was like, wow, this is a completely different character we
Yeah.
have from when we started the book, 10 hours ago.
Yes. Yeah, he does undergo. It's funny because he was already kind of forced to grow up too young,
Right.
just because of where he was, and yet somehow he still manages to grow up yet more throughout that whole journey. I also really love too that like a lot of the crews he's with, they don't necessarily like him. Like it's especially like with the pirates and things like that, where it's like, oh no, this
They're
is
all
not
kind
a
of like
yeah,
dicks.
yes. Well, the pirates especially, they were. I was surprised how far they were willing to take how nasty that crew was. Like
Yeah, that
especially
was
for like obviously they didn't go over the top, but especially for a story about a character this young, it's like those are some messed up people. That's pretty. Those are, and I mean compellingly so. I was very impressed with the author's ability to be consistent character
well,
wise with
and I
that.
mean, like
Very
looking at the
yeah
cover here,
yeah
like this is the new cover and everything, and it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I like the
it
original
is
one, but this one just like it shows how young he really is.
yes
Hi, Sharon. It's it's a fun time though. Like, and I mean, just going through it, I would say this.
So I'll be honest, like that is not my mental picture of that character at all.
I was picturing him more as like
A
a
badger.
full badger as opposed
Yeah.
Yeah,
to a human with badger features. Actually, if you look at the website, they have a version of him that's full badger. So
okay.
I think they kind of permit you to go. The author permits either imagining, like how however how anthropomorphic you want them to be is up to you.
Of course,
Technically.
TJ's in the chat. I mean, I guess it could be a lit RPG cooking show. We could do a cooking segment next year for level 4.
I mean, arguably part of Shadow Agency is.
Yeah, they do cover a lot of cooking in
Yeah,
this.
he's a
It's
very
his
passionate
profession,
chef. Yeah,
which
he's a very passionate chef.
that's another thing that M.A. Carlson did a really good job with. The system was the profession system because a
Yes.
lot of books anymore it really doesn't feel like they talk on the profession aspect of things.
No.
So I just I don't know the best way to like Joel,
I
what are
think
your
it.
thoughts on it?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Um I mean, what really stood out to me was his synesthesia like aspect where he was growing that and he had to like There's Jeff Ace in the chat or in the group.
Yeah, we got Jeff.
It's
Um,
Papa Oro. Oh no.
who is terrifying.
no, but like his
Terrifying.
synesthesia where he has to like plug his nose with like garlic or something to like
Yeah.
get his taste buds
That scene was
working
actually
better,
really good.
or like
Well,
there's
I
just a
love how
lot of
that's-
cool like
I
ways
love
to
how
grow
that's
your
how he
character.
compensated for being blind.
Yeah.
And they didn't shy away from just how blind he is. Like, it really was it was fascinating how they used the limitation of his species that way.
Well, isn't there also like a scene where he's talking about like him not having glasses and he wished he did? Like
Yeah.
definitely towards the end. I think it's right before the bunny girl
Yes.
like encounter, because he sees like the silhouette of the person and he's like, I don't really know who it is. They just
Doesn't he get something to help him read, like a monocle or something?
Yeah, he does.
All
Oh,
right.
thank you, Facebook user.
And then Jeff in his studio, Zach in the kitchen, Richie's in a closet. Joel, get in the bathroom. We need all the
I'm in my office.
And then, of course, Paul, thank you for posting a link to the Shadow Agency book. It's so good. Guys, you need to pick it up and definitely support Soundbooth Theater on this. Jeff, since you're here, I know you have very limited time in doing this, so thank you for popping in.
Got about 10-15 minutes today. I'm sick, and then I have like stuff to do later.
It sounds like you're busy, man.
Yeah, a little bit.
First off, how was
I like to
Vegas?
hang out with you guys. It was amazing. It was fun. Met a lot of cool people. Made some cool deals, and it's probably what got me sick.
Is that MA in the chat?
Oh. Is that the mysterious Facebook user?
Mark Carlson.
I believe
Yes.
so.
Well, thank you for letting us read it. It was fantastic.
Heck,
Yeah,
Mark, if you want a link, I will send you an invite and you can join us. We'd be more than happy to get your thoughts on this segment. But Jeff,
yeah, that'd be totally cool.
what was your like? How did you decide to go about the Papa Oro voice? Because that voice is terrifying.
Yeah. So I thought that first of all, I just wanted to kind of get into sort of an old wise baboon mindset, right? Like, and that's how he comes off to me, is that sort of old wisdom, but like with the twist at the end, you know, like always looking for opportunities. I like, and I think actually it comes down to posture as well. Whenever I read his lines while I was going through it, I always got this sense that he was leaning on something, you know, kind of stretching, kind of being lackadaisical, right, and expressing a posture of vulnerability, almost, you know, to lure people in, so that when his opportunity came, he would turn and snatch him up, you know. So what I wanted to do was sort of have something that was inviting, but at the same time, it could turn menacing very quickly and easily. So,
All right.
and I think the name actually kind of informed me a bit as well. I wanted to do something that was dark and that, you know, that wasn't manic, right? I think that some of my favorite villains are very calm and collected and calculating, and so I don't know. I just wanted to do that, and it's very different than a lot of the stuff I've done as well.
Well, I'll say you did a great job with it. And Papa Ora, like, even though he's got that calm, you know, very articulate persona, like when he's around, like obviously when we first meet him, he's a little more different than how he evolves every time we run into him. Up until the point where he's hiding in the cupboard and he's listening to the conversation between Papa Oro and one of the guards.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I'm terrified of this dude. And like, you think he's got it all held together, and then you see a little unhinged right there in that scene. He's like, how does he keep escaping? How does
Yeah.
he keep getting away from you guys? And we have a fifth guest.
Oh,
We have Mark in the
Hey,
chat
we got
now.
the author.
excellent.
I sent him a link so he could join us.
Hey,
So,
Hello
Hey
there.
Jeff,
how's it going?
it's good.
Mr.
I
Carlson,
just
welcome
happened to
in.
see you guys were talking about the book. It's like I gotta chime in.
I
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
trying to find you earlier so I could send you a link to let you know that we were doing this. So I'm glad that you saw that we were
It
in
was
here.
pure luck. So I'm really glad that I got the opportunity. And Sound Booth was just amazing with that book.
Thank you.
They
so
did
much.
blown
Thank you.
away.
Thank you.
We showed off the new artwork too. That's up on Amazon for the new cover. I like both of the covers, but the new one just shows because we were trying to guess how old is the main character when the book starts.
15. So he starts book
15.
one at 15, and he turns 16 at the very end.
Okay, so we were around the same ballpark and everything, but
Yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about the writing process for this, since
So
we got you in here.
I've been wanting to do like a spy, sneaky main character story for a while, and somewhere along the line, I got the idea. This is funny. My wife is a Wisconsin Badger. That's where she went to college, and I like the idea of a badger. And I started doing a little research on badgers, and they're almost blind, but they're still the baddest MFers in the world as far as the animal kingdom goes. I mean, they'll fight lions for goodness sakes. And I just like that idea. And they're low to the ground, they're squat, but they're tough. And so I like that idea. And I wanted the spy thing. So it's okay, how do I make this work? Well, if they're mostly blind, they've got to have a way to compensate for that. So the synesthesia, and it just all kind of came together from there. And then shop it around a little bit because I wanted to try the publisher route. And Ramon and Charles picked it up with single player books. And they wanted 3 books right away, and so there's 3 books written, and just waiting to see what the release schedule is going to look like.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was fascinating to explore his limitations and how he compensated. I especially loved that you went the fearless route because that provided such a compelling explanation for a lot of the crazy things that he did.
Yeah,
Like that, where normally a child would be terrified. He's like, no. And I love too that he knows that it's crazy. He's
Yep.
not just, he's like, he has that meta awareness of, oh, I do stupid things all the time. I literally am made to do this.
yeah. Well, and that's the one thing that early on is he's taken plenty of beatings from adults because he wasn't wise enough to say, okay, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I love that about it.
badgers don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Honey Badger is a meme for a reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Honey badger, scary.
And I love that. That was the whole plot to play off of there. So I was really just so happy with how it turned out, and the editing process was amazing, and just really pulled out probably the best book I've ever written.
Well, and I wanted to bring up the fact that the shadow attunement we don't see a lot of in the lit RPG.
Yeah.
Like we do have like a couple spy books here and there, but we don't have anything where they really focus on a shadow attunement. So I thought that was really unique. And
You
kinda
get like
give
the,
it, like-
the evil necromancers and things like that, but you don't get someone that's just like, well, how do I make the shadows work for me?
right.
Yeah, well, they touched on that whole theme of it's like dark is just dark. It's not inherently bad. It's just
Right.
a thing.
It's like some people might see it like this,
Yep.
but it doesn't mean that it's actually like a bad thing, because I mean you could have a paladin who is just straight up evil.
Exactly.
It's
So-
just lawful. They're not necessarily good.
Exactly. And
Like,
I think
would
that
almost say Papa Oro was kind of a evil good or chaotic good or neutral, somewhere in that range, because he's a government agent. He believes he's doing the right thing
Yeah,
at any cost.
yeah.
Right.
He was a fascinating character. I really knew the menace for him really set in for me when you almost made it seem like the disaster at the shop when he almost like when he cheats the main character the way he does is the last we're gonna see of him, and then suddenly when out of nowhere he shows up again. That was such a perfect oh no.
that's at the first
Yeah.
dock, right? Where
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he's like hiding the
when you
barrels.
realize there's so much more to him. It's like, oh, this, yeah.
And the relationships that the main character has with like the crew. Like I actually really enjoyed his bunkmate, who was actually like helping him with the taste testing and everything to try to like
Esteban.
That's the bond. Yeah.
Esteban. That was such a fun little scene. Like I had an absolute blast with that, and the fact that Esteban actually saved his life with he was like, "Oh no, this barrel's supposed to like we're supposed to have a delivery, and no, it needs to stay here." And I was like, "Wow, this is he's risking his life just for someone he barely even knows."
And that's that loyalty thing too,
He's a
which I
good
really
kid
I love playing with that.
because he was what a pug man, like
Yes.
so he's got the scrunched up face. Joel,
Yep.
kind of like Kachan's face.
He's going.
Yeah, the wheeze.
Zach, you knocked that out of the park.
Oh,
That was
thank
so
you.
good.
Thank you. He was fun. I was like, I was a little worried that I was doing it too loudly, but I'm glad that people ended up liking it because he was so immediately endearing.
He was, and that was the
Yeah.
whole point. I mean, who
Yeah.
doesn't love a pug?
No, exactly. Well, and I loved too that it was like anything else. It was his boon. All the boons are like double-edged swords.
Yes.
His loyalty is fantastic, but it also pointed out how easily he can be taken advantage of because of that if
Yeah.
he doesn't afford that to the right person. So there was a very sort of you almost wanted to protect him. I liked that about him.
All right, Jeff, I know you're kind of running a little short on time. Do you have any
Yeah.
last minute thoughts before you have to dip or anything?
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is I just want more people to hear this one. Like, there's, you know, I really enjoy the fact that we were able to publish this with Charles and Ramon. You know, Charles and Ramon have been friends of ours for a really long time, and I really want their publishing company to succeed. I really love that we're working on this series because it's such a different look for lit RPG. I've always been a big fan of the anthropomorphized animals thing, you know, and I don't know what it is that makes it just so warm and inviting and interesting to me. I guess it's, you know, I guess it's sort of a place where authors can play, where the differences in the people, the differences in the species are, you know, that's a rich thing to play around with. You know, that I mean, there's a lot of tension around like talking about race, you know, and so if you take it out of the human element and put it into animals, right, you can get back into the conversation without being in the conversation in a
Right.
certain way, you know, without
Very
like,
true. That's an excellent.
you know,
point.
it would take real mental gymnastics to turn it into something like that. Whereas, you know, if you just remain in this fantasy land where we can explore the differences between one group of people and another in a way that's technically safe from reactionary people, then it becomes fun. It becomes something that, you know, we can be open about the discussion more. So there's that, and then there's the food, right? Like, I think what's the red? What was there's a series that
Redwall.
Ramon,
Brian Jakes.
yes, Redwall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The food is a huge deal in that series, right?
I love
And
Redwall.
so, you know, if that can come through some more, that'd be awesome. I just really love the aesthetic. I really love going back to it, and I'm hoping that sales are to a point that, you know, we can keep going with this one, especially because I absolutely loved playing the villain. Like
You were spectacular.
he was so
Loved you as the
fun
villain.
and
Yeah.
just creepy and slow, and like all of a sudden he's got you.
Very
Yeah.
deliberate.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to continue this series. I hope that everyone here, you know, everyone who's watching this interview will go check it out because
Please.
it's really
It's
worth it.
excellent.
It's amazing. So, thank you guys for having me. I do have to go. I'm pretty tired. And,
All right, Jeff, thank you so much
feeling
for
Yeah.
for
Thank
joining
you. Really
in.
good to see you.
Thank you,
Hope you
Jeff.
feel better.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
you guys too.
Have a good night, man.
All right. Joel, do you have any
Yes.
parts you want to talk about specifically?
Um. Hmm. Well, we talked about the synesthesia. I I think just like the racial aspects in general and how those like the pros and cons of their races, I just really enjoyed. Uh like with the honey badger, he doesn't have sight, but he can smell really well, and then he's fearless.
Well, the concept of a blind pickpocket too was just
Right.
brilliant. I love
Yeah.
that.
It was
How it
fun.
was, yeah, pickpocketing entirely by like sound and feel is fascinating. And I mean,
Smelling the iron and just knowing this is what the iron coins smell like exactly.
Yes.
Every single one.
yes,
You know where
I
the
love that.
concentration is. You can target it. You can figure out how to sneak in and get it through the
I
folds
love
of the cloth.
I was wanting to like I this was one of the few books that like I actually did not want to like stop listening to. Like I just like I wanted to have my headphones going the entire time. I didn't want to press pause or anything like that because I mean obviously for some books you have to do that or like
Yeah.
just because life is happening and everything. I was putting everything on hold just so I could keep listening to this. Like I was listening to it at work, got in trouble, don't care. I'm leaving there anyways. Like I was having a blast with this one. And I mean it was because like I found out about it because Charles told us on the podcast. Like he's like, "Hey, oh yeah, we have this book coming out. It's really good." And then Jeff popped in the chat when we did our episode with Charles, and he was like, "Oh yeah, and Zach's narrating it." And everyone knows me. I'm a Zach Johnson stan. I will pick up anything that man puts out.
Thank you.
He's my mentor for a reason. I learned from this guy. I gotta sit down and listen. And like we had what a 2 hour call the other night where we just went over
Yes,
stuff.
we're working on dialogue tag cadences.
Oh God, those are gonna be the death of me.
I actually had not had to think about how specific that thing is until I had to explain it to someone. And it was like, there is such a standardized way to say those. It's so funny. I do have to say, with this book, I've never seen cooking used so effectively for spy work. I was not
Right?
expecting that to come out be like, because it made sense why he was doing it, but it was so clever the way that it ended up coming in handy because it would allow him to like plausibly he would always have a reason to slip in with whatever group of people he needed to. So it's
Exactly.
like I can cook for you.
Yeah.
And
Well-
nobody's gonna say no to that.
Well, and like Joel and I were playing some Baldur's Gate 3 while I was listening to the book, and we got to the part with the goblin encampment, and you can kill a lot of the goblins there by just going up and poisoning their drinks. And I was like, oh God, are we pulling a shadow agency? And he's like, yeah, that or the land. I mean, it's about the same. I was like, all right, cool. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. So that
Yeah.
was like, so Mark, what was probably one of your favorite scenes to write?
One of the intermissions with the little mouse girl, where she's forced to deliver this poison to kill the main character's friends,
Mm-hmm.
and she accidentally poisons all the guards.
Well, the guards did.
Yeah.
They're like, no, this is
Yeah, they
aimed
just
for
took
them.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay. Like,
Oh no.
What choice does she have? I mean,
Yeah.
but
That's
that was
right. Yeah.
that was a fun scene.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that was-
silly, but it's just it works so nicely, and it was just
Well, and it totally was in
Yeah.
character for the guards to do that.
yes.
That is a very plausible way for them to stupidly die. It was
And I mean,
hilarious. Yeah.
Doesn't it go back to the old saying of absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Yeah. So it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, you think they are out there thinking they're gonna die in battle, and then oh no.
It's like, oh yeah, we're getting a nice good meal. We're going out.
We
We
got some
earned
warmth
this.
in our
This is ours.
bellies.
Well, I mean, technically, you earned
mean,
a
you
nice
did.
single death.
Yeah.
You did have that.
My adrenaline was like
Yeah,
spiked
I
at that
Yeah.
point.
I loved how you preempted us. You were like, "Oh, they're gonna die now," and when it actually came to it, you were like, "Just
The only
kidding."
thing you could do was give them mercy, and
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. It kind of
Oh.
has. I don't know if you guys have played Fallout New Vegas, but it
Oh,
reminded
yeah.
me of Boone's backstory with his
Yeah.
life. Yeah, it was the same kind of thing. Yeah,
Mm.
and it's like and it's like nobody would blame him for doing what he did, and it very much was written the same way. It had a similar kind of impact. Of course, then it took a very, very entertaining twist, but I did like the setup quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, is that Zuko that's being pretty vocal
No,
right now?
that's Katara.
All right.
Katara's a little squeak toy. Zuko's got a much deeper voice. He also would just be a little more aggressive.
Oh, Zuko's behind you.
Yeah,
He's over by the toaster oven.
yeah, that's his favorite spot is by the toaster oven.
Oh my god. So I will say that after listening to Shadow Agency, I did want to get back on Diablo 4 and make a Shadow Rogue just for the Shadow Dagger abilities because I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely gonna hit the spot. And that's one thing I love about lit RPGs is because like if a book is that good and I'm like, okay, I want to make this character in game, you struck a chord with me. You did a good job. And not only was it fantastic writing, but also the amazing talent at Sound Booth Theater.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was so good because it was Zach, Jeff, and was it Emma Kate Sterling?
Emma Kate Starling. Yeah.
She did a fantastic job.
Oh, she's excellent. I've
Everyone
worked with her
did
before.
great.
Yeah. She was if you remember Alaskan Fire, she was Blaze.
I do remember Alaskan Fire.
So yeah, I knew she was going to be great for it just based on my work.
I didn't realize that she was in that for some reason. It just didn't click. I mix up a lot of my narrators sometimes because I power through books way too quickly.
You are an audiobook fiend. It's quite impressive. I'm always like, because when you told me you were listening, I'm expecting to hear back from you in a couple of weeks, and it's like, no, it's 3 days later, and you've gotten through the whole 10 hours.
I think it was actually like 2, maybe the next day.
It was very quick. it was impressive.
But I mean, Zach, I mean, there's been a few books that you've put out that I listened to in one sitting. So
Yes.
let's be real. I power through my books when I work, and they're my escape. And that's one of the reasons we like doing the podcast is because if we can, promote this, like talk about these books, and someone else can have them as an escape, escape from reality for a little bit, or just take their mind off things and just enjoy a really good read, then you did a good job.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it does. I mean, this one for me, it was 5 stars across the board, performance, story, and just overall amazing. So, Mark, you did a great job. And
Appreciate that. The reviews have all just been stellar.
They've been wonderful to read. It's been very, very
Yeah.
very justifiably complimentary of your work. It was a lot of fun. I don't think
my favorite so far is Under Siege in Training.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So, have you already written book 2, or are you in the
2 and 3 are both written. The publishers are doing their stuff at this point, so I'm kind of in the wait and see pattern.
All right, can you talk a little bit about book 2 and like what we can expect to see?
Zach, how's your Russian?
My accent or the actual language?
Your accent.
My accent's just fine. I've done many Russian characters.
He does have a good Russian voice.
Yes.
I will
Awesome.
say that.
So the main character gets his first pseudonym and gets put undercover as basically a Russian spy.
Excellent.
Hell yeah.
I have a lot of experience voicing Russian mobsters, so that's
And it's a lot of comrade.
Yes, comrade. Excellent.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is gonna be good.
So it should be
this is
a lot
gonna
of
be
fun.
really good.
It sounds good. Yeah.
A little bit of Magical Academy kind of thing. So
Magical Academy plus Russian spies means I'm excited.
yes.
Guys, go read this book.
Yeah, please come on, pick this up.
Boost
we need
the
to put
sales.
more
Come on.
audio out.
Let's boost it.
I want to be a Russian. I want to be a magic Russian spy. Come on.
There you go.
Let's get some
Magic
21
Russian
Jump
Magic
Street, 22 Jump Street up in here right now. Let's go.
Man, yeah, it's no, that the Russian I'm very excited about. So I do love the because the ending just sets up so many possibilities. I was very, very happy with how that went. I mean, his arc is just so fascinating to watch. I think the most impressive showcase of the chef skills for me was the tree, where it was like this is proving so strangely applicable to just straight up fights. His ability to figure things out about food and stuff. I loved that whole that detour that they ended up having to take in the dungeon. That was a lot of fun.
So, oh, what was the big guy's name that goes into the dungeon?
Oh,
The guard,
Yeah,
or
the guard. I know exactly
Philippe?
what you're talking about.
Did I name him
Starts-
Philippe? Oh my god, I can't remember
Yes.
my own
Yeah, it
character.
was
Felipe,
Felipe.
yeah.
It was Felipe.
Felipe.
Yeah.
He
That
was
was it.
written. I love him. I want to give him a hug. I felt so bad for him. And the pirate queen who was in there with them, the captain, I wanted to punch her so
Yeah.
many times because I was like, you are a horrible human being.
And that's the whole point of the pirates is, he
Yes.
learns
Oh my
very quickly
God.
just they're just evil to their core.
Well, I remember when we were going over character notes, when you gave me notes for Matsuko, it was no redeeming qualities. That was the big note, was she does not have redeeming qualities.
There is nothing redeemable about her. She is
No.
just out for
The-
herself, ruthless.
The other one who was in the party with them, it wasn't the chef, was it?
No,
It was Matsuko, Viento, Felipe, and then the main
it was the
character
other.
in the inside the tree.
yes.
Yeah, she was a little more like tolerable. Like you could tell she wasn't horrible.
The captain.
Viento or Matsuko?
Viento?
Viento, yeah, Viento was the
Box
cat.
woman.
Matsuko was the cat that would insult him at every possible
Yes,
opportunity.
Matsugo was the one I was switching up with. Yeah, Matsugo. I wanted to choke her.
No redeeming qualities, but a weirdly sweet obsession with macrame.
Because she's the one that also sells him out on the or he ends up like selling out on the boat, right? When
So yeah, he saves
Yeah.
her when they're captured by the pirate hunters,
And
and
then
he betrays him immediately.
yes,
And then
'Cause
he
she, like,
saves her
knocks him
again,
out.
And she does it again.
and only for her to do it again.
Yeah.
And I think by that point, he expected it. He knew it was coming. He just
Yeah.
because
knew
wasn't
he
he
needed her help to escape?
was he carrying her or the pirate queen?
The pirate,
pirate
the captain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Viento was like very severely wounded.
Because that's right before they go into the tree and everything, which was that whole journey. It was giving me like a little bit of Demon Slayer vibes,
Yeah.
like him just carrying Nezuko on his
Or
back
like,
for a little bit.
Did you ever play Legend of Grimrock?
Yes.
You ever heard of that? Yeah, it reminded me of Grimrock, where it's you don't go to prison, they throw you into the Grimrock dungeon, and if you get out, all your crimes are forgiven. It
Hmm.
kind of had that feeling to it of if you just
Yeah.
the only way out is to fight your way up. I liked that a lot.
I think anything that has like a good prison escape scene or like just outrunning, not really the law, but just like bounty hunters or anything like that. If there's like an intense chase scene, then I'm sold. Like I will have a good time with it. And
You
it-
probably love the boarding party where you had
Yes.
to hide in the cabins.
that was awesome. And we were talking about Esteban, the relationship between him and Esteban earlier, and how Esteban pretty much saved his life
Yep.
when he was hiding in the barrel. And I was like, this is like, there were a lot of moments in this book where I think it was the performances plus the writing mixed together were giving me anxiety. And I was just like, oh my God, this is like, I was on the edge of my metaphorical seat. And it was a fun time. Like I wanted, I want to see this with a movie, and I just want Nicolas Cage somewhere in the film. I put him as Papa Oro. Like make him Papa Oro.
He
That
could
would
pull it off, too.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Because he could do both. Like he could go the very cold, calculating route Jeff went, but have the man. Because like Oro does have that rage boiling underneath.
Oh,
the scene
yeah.
where he's hiding in the cupboard from
Yeah.
Oro and he's talking to the guard, and you hear the thud. And it's like Oro just knocked this dude out. He's still breathing, but he's hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a nasty piece of work.
Because
Really
I mean,
cool,
we meet
interesting guy.
you meet Oro very early. Like I'm talking, what
Mhm.
first two chapters? we
yeah,
meet-
somewhere. in
Yeah.
there.
we meet him,
Somewhere in the first 2 or 3 chapters.
and then the Wolfman, like which a great job with him.
Yeah,
Love-
he was a
yeah.
very interesting character.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. He well, it was fascinating how he kind of persuaded him to take the quest on too, because I think
Yeah.
the protagonist, I don't think initially was too keen on going until he saw the and then suddenly off he goes trying to find answers.
He's like, why can't I smell this guy? I'm gonna go figure out his secrets.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, is that mine? Yep. Yeah. So what was there anybody like that you had? Like, what was the like genesis of the Papa Oro character? Because he was like one of the most fascinating ones to me. Like, how did you end up writing him the way that you did, and why a baboon? Why was he a baboon in particular?
I don't remember exactly what the impetus was, but I knew I needed a foil of some sort pretty early on. Someone who was going to make the start of his journey just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And I thought about, okay, what animal in nature is kind of just an asshole, but also amusing to watch? And it's like,
Yeah.
baboon. Okay, so what do we do with that? What kind of boon or curse do they have? Well, duplicity makes sense. They can be fun and entertaining, but they can also be mean as hell.
So I'm gonna have my Disney card revoked here because I'm gonna be questioned because it's one of my favorite movies. Is Rafiki a baboon?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, he
that's what
is.
I thought. I was like, I was sitting here like giving myself anxiety. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna look like
Yeah.
an idiot here. He was giving me Rafiki vibes. Like at the very beginning, he's like, oh yeah, he's a little
He's
nuts and
playful
everything.
and he's
Yes.
interesting, and actually, he's really just cruel and wholly devoted to his emperor.
Yes. Well, I love to because it's like you played up the whole eccentric, probably dishonest rip-off merchant angle very very well because that's a very powerful trope in a lot of lit RPGs or any sort of game lit kind of thing. Like we of course have the merchant from Resident Evil as one of the famous examples, but
What are you buying?
yeah, but I love that that was the character that ended up being like the scary even before I knew what he was. After he started doing what he after you kind of started showing his other face, he really was just a he had a ton of gravitas even before you knew what his actual role in the story was going to be. Where it was this guy isn't just gonna rip me off. He might kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
But
gonna
he's
he's
funny.
gonna give me a run for my money at this point. Like
Yeah.
we're not sure what's gonna happen.
So what about because you decided like a hierarchy obviously of the different sort of animal people. What put the wolves at the top for you? Like why not the lions or anybody else? What puts the wolves at the upper echelons?
So I kind of imagined a world where there are so many different nations, and a lot of them are very tribal-esque or tribalish.
Yeah.
Even though at this point they've kind of gotten into the early era of gunpowder, where they're just starting to mess with muskets and things like that.
Right.
And I thought to myself, okay, if you've got all these different kin, the wolf folk and badger folk and dog folk and all these different people, um, it kind of makes sense that they would kind of tribalize. So the wolves are pack hunters. They're very powerful as a large group. It makes sense that they would kind of come together and form their own kingdom, where the alpha would kind of rule. At the
Yeah.
same time, when you look, okay, what is not quite the opposite, but what other animal within the kingdom would be kind of that polar opposite to the wolves? Well, you got the lions. So then you have Rugir to the south, who the wolves and lions have been at war for decades. And there's other nations that are fox people, and another nation of badger people, and another nation of bear folk, and
Gotcha.
all of that stuff.
So like how much research was involved in deciding on the boons for these guys? Because I'm guessing they're obviously based on something that they're naturally like.
Yeah. So,
So, so we had a fact check in the chat. Rafiki is a mandrill, similar to a baboon, but not a baboon.
oh,
Ah,
Also, Charles Dean's in the chat
Hey,
on Twitch.
Charles.
Hi, Charles. We love you. So, didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, Mark.
No,
Continue.
you're good.
That was just a little side note.
I mean
Sorry.
that was a good fact check given that we're on the research question.
Yeah.
And
Now,
now
if there's any time to be
Well-
fact checked, now is it.
And like the pig folk, it was easy to say they have avarice. They're pigs. They eat.
Yeah.
If you put food in front of them, they just keep eating. So
Yeah.
they just want more and more and more. And the idea of, okay, well, they also, they kind of enjoy the stink. I mean, you've ever seen a pig in slop? They're
Oh, yeah.
unbelievably happy.
That's
But
true.
it's that whole thing of, well, they have enough personality to realize that's probably not socially acceptable. So I'm going to make a big show of being very offended by bad smells, But in truth, I just love it. I adore it. It's the best thing ever.
They were very memorable in their appearances. I do remember they were very visceral in their depiction. I think the smell part came across nicely.
Yeah,
When you can smell X, you know you enjoy.
that's fantastic. That's high praise right there.
No, it was. Well, I think probably it probably stems from, because obviously when you're dealing with something like synesthesia, the sensory
Scent
aspect of the
becomes
writing is
very
gonna,
important. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and also it was clever that, again, it was just, I keep coming back to this, but I was so fascinated at how much of a linchpin of storytelling cooking ended up being. Like how that was how his synesthesia was really starting to be honed, was his gift for cooking sort of tied into that. And then you had the whole thing with Chef Alma about tell me how you got it. Like how like her arc, and it really was, I think that the synesthesia aspect of it really did lend itself very well to the sort of very visceral sensory style the writing had, because I definitely, especially because the main character cannot rely on sight, there's so many other things about the world that you had to play, so like he really did a good job of conveying what it would be like to hear, smell, taste, and feel these things,
Yeah.
as opposed to just see them. I mean, synesthesia is such a fascinating condition.
Well, I mean,
So,
just
to be able to
as
play
wandering
it.
through the streets and knowing, okay, I smell the tannery to my left, I need to go
Yep.
to the right. I can hear the waves, or I can smell so and so's cologne way off in the distance. I'm going the right way.
Yes. Or
And
like you pointed out, I can smell which targets are worth pickpocketing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the smell
Like
who's
that.
heavy with iron.
Yes. Yeah, I loved that. I loved that a lot. It really was. It was a fascinating sort of exploration, and I mean, like, so was it knowing that, like, did the synesthesia sort of come into play as you realized the main character's sight limitation, or was that kind of something that you wanted to play with from the beginning, and it was
That
like
was something I wanted
simultaneous
to
with
play
that?
with from the beginning because
Okay.
it's really I've only seen it rarely in a few other places,
Yeah.
and it's not like a key element to those stories in a lot of ways. And I
Right.
really wanted it to be you've got a blind pickpocket who's adapted by developing this skill to smell and color.
Yes.
And it's just, that's a really neat idea. The
It
whole
really
idea of,
is.
okay, I'm cursed with blindness, I'm heavy, but I'm not afraid of anything. So I'm not afraid of getting caught and getting beaten for my troubles, but I still don't want to.
No, it's, yeah,
So,
it's like not so much fear. It's just he realizes the practical downside, but the actual experience of fear doesn't happen for him.
yeah.
Yeah, he's more pragmatic than anything else.
I'm just gonna put a little banner going across the bottom.
Yes,
Gotta
do
boost those
that.
sales.
Yes, everybody go buy Shadow Agency. No,
So
it's yeah. Go ahead.
Charles actually dropped us another fact in the chat. We have another one. Pigs aren't really as pro bad odor as they seem. They tolerate it, but their wallowing in the dirt and mud is actually to keep them cool, since they don't have other means of losing heat.
Ah,
Hmm.
interesting.
Clearly, I didn't do enough research there.
We're having
Well,
some fun fact drops today. I'm enjoying this.
it still works for them, and I mean, even with that in consideration, given it still is a big part of their life, and the idea
Yeah.
that they would want to put out it still works. It
Well,
still
and
works.
like the pig people that we were seeing, I was picturing them as like Jabba's guards in Star Wars.
Yeah,
That's
the
kind of how,
Gamorreans.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I was kind of picturing them, and I was like, all right, okay, we got this, we got this. Don't mess with them, but maybe give them a little trouble. We'll find out.
Yeah.
So, I might have missed it, and what was like a inspiration, like game wise, for you to when writing this? Like, did you have a certain game or, I guess, literature that kind of inspired the story and system?
No, I kind of wanted something new that was
No feet.
not so heavy with uh, all the stats, and I didn't want to make a super crunchy lit RPG.
Right.
But I wanted it to be a main part of the world. Is this world operates because of this game world, and in future books you'll get a little bit more history about how that came about, and it's really really fun and exciting. Um, but yeah, I kind of wanted to create something new but simple that people would be familiar enough with that they could enjoy all of it.
This is the second episode
Yeah,
I've
I
gotten
did
comments
notice
about.
actually, because it wasn't so much number heavy; it was rank heavy, as opposed to like you have
Yeah.
30 points in this. It was your beginner, intermediate, advanced rank. I did like
Yes.
that because it very succinctly conveyed like okay, just how good this person is,
I
whereas opposed to having to compare like what's a 57 mean, because from in one game
And
that
not
could be
having to have
amazing.
those hard numbers to say, oh, you have 55 strength, you can lift 250 pounds easily or something.
Right.
Right.
Whereas you can just say he's really strong. So if you
Yeah.
say that, it gives you a lot of creative license to go, yeah, well, he said he was really strong. Of course he can do that. So,
It's
Yeah.
definitely a nice mix up for in change of pace because when you have a lot of lit RPGs, a lot of them do focus on the levels where cultivation will focus more on the ranks or I guess soul stone depending on
Mhm.
which one we're going with. So I think having a rank up in an actual lit RPG instead of it being more cultivation, it was a nice change of pace, and I really enjoyed it.
well, and
I'm
something
So
I
glad.
really admired about the main character was he found, oh, yeah, Zuko, thank
yeah,
you, Paul. He
Zuko's
found,
the star.
he found every possible opportunity to hone his shadow attunement, no matter how dire his situation was. Like, I'm going to be forced to live in this crate for 3 months. Well, crates are dark. I guess I can play with the
Shadows.
darkness while I'm in here. Yeah, I love that
He's
about
very
him.
good about making the best of a bad situation. Growing up on the streets, I imagine you have to do that
Oh yeah.
just to survive.
Well,
I was waiting for a barrel rider joke from like The Hobbit, like a joke somewhere in there when he was in the barrel. I was waiting for it, just a little nod. Because Joel, that was your gamer tag for the longest time, wasn't it? Was barrel rider, and I was riddle maker.
Yeah,
We had our little group
was back on Xbox days.
back on the Xbox One days. So we'll start kind of wrapping up and everything. Oh, we got a question from JD Glasscock. What is both of your guys' current projects? Apologize if you already went over it. Just got on. Well, welcome in, JD. We're glad to have you here, buddy.
yes, thank you.
So, Mark, do you have any projects you
Take
want
it away.
to shout out?
I am about 2/3 of the way finished with World Tree 6. So the sixth
All
book in my World Tree Online series.
Okay. I have read part of I think I have the first two books of World Tree Online. Not to be
Yeah. There's
switched
another
over
one
with
out there
yeah,
too.
EA Cooper is or Hooper,
EA Cooper, yeah.
yeah, which Joel and I have talked about because Sound Booth did that one. That was my introduction to Justin Thomas James for that one, and it
Yep.
was good. But yours is also really good. So guys,
Thank you.
go check out his books. Go check out.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, JD. Take
um,
Zach,
yes.
any projects you want to plug?
Sure. So, of course, obviously Shadow Agency, because I need to do book 2. I had a great time with this one. But in addition, ones I'm currently narrating are Other Guys book 3. If you've not read that, that's quite a fun.
Such a fun one.
Yeah, that's quite a fun
Nice.
time.
Oh my
That
God, I
has
love it.
Jeff and Annie in it. So you've got some rock. Jeff is the race of villainous lizard people. So you can imagine how good a performance that is. It's quite nice. He sent me some
Eric
samples that he
Hudland, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
or J.K. Galiotto and C.T. Knospe, I believe, are the author. Those have been my points of contact anyway. But
Okay.
they've been that's been excellent. I'm working on an independent project right now called Children of the Ship, which is with a gentleman named Doug Brody, who is a career TV writer, actually. And these books are, if you're an X-Files fan, I would check these out. It's very X-Files heavy. This is the third and final book in the series. And
Well, it's added to my list.
yeah, that one's really good. And then there's a lot of Emerald Alchemist, the next one in the River of Fate series with David North.
Such a damn good one too. Those
Yeah.
books are fantastic.
Yeah, David North's cultivation novels are great. And then, and this is exciting, I just heard about this 2 days ago. You guys remember Virtuous Sons?
Oh,
Mhm.
book two.
So it's possible. I've been talking to the authors, so I may be narrating that. I don't know. It depends on how interested they can, because it's got like an amazing cult following. So depending on how interested and fired up they can get them, keep an eye out for that.
Richie's
Because
over here having conniptions.
No, that one was so much fun.
it's
That one was an
Greco-Roman
absolute
cultivation fantasy. That was the first Greco-Roman one I've ever read, and it was excellent. Very, very good stuff.
Very cool.
You get to see Socrates as like a ripped Hulk type figure. Like,
It's a-
come on.
It's a fun time, and plus,
you get to see ripped Socrates.
Justin Thomas James is in that one. Is Jeff in that one as well?
I don't know actually. I know it was me, Justin, and Emma. So
Yes.
I don't know if I can't speak to Sound Booth's involvement. They may or may not be. I do know though that I've been speaking with the authors, and that you should definitely check their stuff out, because the interest in that is going to determine whether or not there's an audio made. So,
Guys,
go look.
go support some of these narrators and authors because they're damn good. I can't preface this enough. They are damn good.
Oh yeah,
My
It's
library
like
overflowing. Even if I know I'm not going to get to it, I still pick up the book.
yeah.
because,
Some
like,
of the
I-
best stuff I've done has been through Sound Booth and the Indie Sphere. I mean, case in point, Mark, wonderful work. But it really,
you.
of course, yeah. And thank you for trusting me to tell the story. It really was a phenomenal
Oh, you
time.
knocked it out of the park, man. Sound
Thank
Booth
you.
did fantastic. It's such a good book, such high quality narration for the audiobook. I mean, just wonderful.
Thank you. It really is honest. I say this with no exaggeration. Hearing that from people who tell stories is one of the best parts of my job, because I know how much they mean to the people that write them. So it really,
You brought the story to life, so thank you for that.
thank you.
Hey Paul, can you throw a link to Sound Booth or not? Well, yeah, we got Sound Booths for Zach, but also to Shadow Agency again. So we can throw
Thank you, Paul. Yes,
Thank
that.
you.
He's been throwing links up. Paul,
He
Paul
has.
is one
He's
of our
been-
new mods,
He
so
has.
excellent job.
because it won't let me type when doing the stuff for it says can't comment on Facebook groups. It's like, all right, cool, fine, that's whatever. So, but no, this has been a fun episode. It turned
It
from
has.
a Zach Johnson episode to a whole party. And
No, that
we
was
are-
awesome. Like, what a
we-
lovely surprise.
it
I've been wanting
worked.
to meet you for a while.
It worked
So I'm
perfectly.
very happy
Yeah.
that played out the way that it did.
It was just pure luck. I just happened to see, oh, Shadow, that's my book. I'm going to say hi.
All right,
Excellent.
guys,
Thank you
go,
for doing
go
this,
look
guys.
that
I
later.
appreciate it.
So, but Mark, thank you for tuning in. We're so happy we could got
Yeah.
you on for this episode because,
Absolutely.
like I said,
Thank
it
you.
just turned into a fun little surprise. Because this was just going to be a surprise Bard's Tale episode, which is where we sit down with the narrator, and it turned into our boss encounter Bard's Tale Silver Tongue episode. It's all three. Let's do it.
Love it. That was
To
awesome.
be fair,
Happy
I
to,
just thought it was gonna
contribute.
be me, Rich, and Zach, and then
Well,
I don't know.
I had
mean,
reached out to
This
Jeff.
is the best
and I
kind
was
of surprise, man.
right.
I reached out to Jeff and I was like, oh yeah, Jeff, hey, like we're doing this episode tonight. It's a last minute thing. You don't have to join if you don't want to. He's like, I'll tune in for 15 minutes. Hi, Zuko. So he was like, I'll just tune in for 15 minutes. But I won't make any promises. I was like, dude, that's fine. Like if you show up, you show up. If you don't, we understand. You're busy. We get it. He showed up. I was like, yeah, all right, it's off to a start. And then I saw your comment, and I had pulled over to Facebook because it just showed up as Facebook user. And I was like, oh, send him a message. Here's a link. Join if you want. You do not have to though, because no, this was
I appreciate the invite.
Shadow Agency was definitely one of my new favorite reads of the year. Like
I'm
likewise.
excited for
it
book
was such
two.
a hidden gem, and I'm so happy that Charles told us about it because it was a good time.
Let's
It was
take
right
it
up
from
my
hidden
alley.
gem to just gem. It does not, should not
No.
be hidden.
It is not. It should not. It is straight up gem book, and it is top 5 of the year.
Yeah.
Top 5 of the
easily.
year, and
Thank you.
and with how many books
That's,
I go
that's
through,
very generous.
that's high praise. Like
That's high praise. Thank you.
so, I know. Hey Joel,
Yeah,
I know we just did this the other night, but we have two new
right.
guests.
I have like literally 0 books.
Same. So we do this segment at the end of our episodes for first-time viewers and everything. So we'll go to Mark and Zach. Hey, what you been reading? Mark, do you want to go first? What you been reading?
Sure. I just finished Defiance of the Fall 10,
Good
and
series.
I
Good one.
just started Stormweaver 2, Fire and Song
Iron
by Bryce.
Bryce O'Connor,
What's his name?
the Iron Prince book 2.
Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, Iron Prince book 2.
Yep, that one's Bryce O'Connor. It's a good series, very good series. I've not picked up book
Yeah.
2 yet, but it's on the list.
It just hit audio, so yeah, it's
On
like
the 31st. We had
20
a
some
lot of
hours
good
plus
releases on the
listening, so
31st.
yeah.
All right, hey Zach, buddy, old pal. I know you
I
kind of
just
already answered it. What you been reading?
actually, well, if we're going with just finished, I did just finish Matthew Goodwin's Cyberpunk saga.
Yay!
Book 6 and 7. Book 6 just released. 7's been done. It's just I'm not sure exactly how he's planning to schedule the release, but it's ready to go. So Cracked Screens Book 6 just came out, and then the final installment, Drudge Match, is sure to follow sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Such a fun series.
Yeah, that's very good. I'm a cyberpunk fanatic, so that was a very fun one to do.
It's my go-to cyberpunk book right now. Like if I need that cyberpunk kick, that series is my go-to. But hey Joel, you
Yeah.
read anything?
Well, I have been continuing my re-listen to The Land when I fall asleep. Other than that, I can tell you what I'm going to read. Up
what are you
next,
gonna
I
read?
have Mark of the Fool. Yeah, and then I think
Also a good
Dakota
series.
Kraut's book just came out or something like that.
Book 11, the final book in the T arc.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Thunderclump
So
from his direct website.
We do the direct stuff. We like to support Dakota like immediately, and then we end up picking it up on Audible as well.
so I will
Yeah.
be reading that next as well.
Dakota's great.
Oh, we love Dakota. Dakota's another one of those gems in the Lit RPG community. We love them both.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm currently doing my re-listen to System Apocalypse Australia to get ready for our episode with KT Hana on Monday. I did do a re-listen today of Shadow Agency. I started it last night and finished it up today. What I'm physically reading is Through the
Nice.
Storm by Lydia Schreier and John Ringo. Such a good book. Oh my god, it's so much fun. It's book 2 in the Transdimensional Hunter series. And then I'm about 50% done on my audio stuff for Apocosmos. So I am booked right now. No pun intended. Oh,
See what you did there.
and then of course Harmon's Arcane Cultivator, like my only pre-order. The audiobook for that drops next week, so I'm like, oh, the TBR list is just growing. Yeah. So we have a lot in store, but please, this is our final episode of like our surprise episodes. Everything else we have our schedule posted, so we have KT Hana next week, and then followed by Daniel Shinhoffen on the 27th. On the 3rd, or on the 4th, we have J.M. Clark, 11th, Timothy McGowan, and then on the 18th, wrapping up the year, our final episode of the year, Michael Chatfield. And that'll be the Stats on Stats season finale before we take a few weeks off. And I got to get the schedule going for our first episode of the year with TJ Lombardi for a new show we're doing called Road to Royal. It's where we talk with Royal Road authors and all their works on there. So that's we got some fun stuff in store for the rest of the year and to kick the season off. But Mark, thank you so much for joining us last second. I wish I could have gotten it to you sooner, and I'm glad you could make it. Zach, as always,
Thank you.
my man.
It's a pleasure.
Always have a lovely time.
Zach's one of our. He's almost our third unofficial member of Stats on Stats at this point. He's been on. I think he's been our most reoccurring guest at this point.
Wow, that's
he
exciting.
you finally topped Edie Sky and HP
Wow.
Hollow. So you're one ahead of her now. So
Oh, okay. So
we,
now,
we
it's a competition.
now it is a competition. But this has been Stats on Stats. Thank you everyone who tuned in. You'll be able to find our episodes up on YouTube. I'm exporting a bunch of stuff later tonight, so they should be up and going. If you just search Stats on Stats in the search engine on YouTube, all one word, it'll bring us right up. And then we're still fighting with podcast apps. Please don't yell at me on that one. But for everyone who tuned in tonight, thank you so much. And for everyone watching this in the future, thank you.
Thank
Everyone
you.
have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye.